We are on the back of another incredible UFC fight night. This past weekend's UFC Austin saw some of the best individual performances you are ever going to see in 2022. But what's a UFC event without a little judging controversy? Despite all the incredible performances throughout the evening, the one fight that got everyone debating on social media was the featherweight main event between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. First and foremost, I believe the fight itself was another incredible main event for the UFC. Calvin Kattar was on the back of the best performance of his career, having beaten Giga Chikadze comprehensively, and it was such a satisfying win to witness, given that Chikadze had spoken so much trash leading up to the fight regarding the champion Alexander Volkanovski and his last title contender, the Korean Zombie. Meanwhile, Josh Emmett was making his return to the octagon for the first time since beating Dan Ige at UFC 269. We were in for a banger of a main event between two of the featherweight finest contenders, and the fight surely did not disappoint. Starting off the fight, both Kattar and Emmett began in a slow pace and seemed very cautious in the early stages of the bout. Calvin Kattar seemed more calculated of the two men and was using his jabs right from the get-go in the first round itself. Round 1 was obviously in favor of Kattar, as it seemed like Josh Emmett was still trying to feel out his opponent. It almost felt as if Emmett was trying to adjust some of the ring rust in that first round. The second round began with Josh Emmett showing a lot more aggression than the first round. He moved forward aggressively, and like Dominic Cruz mentioned on commentary, whichever fighter moved forward and pressurized their opponent with their striking was going to come out on top. And that is exactly what happened with Josh Emmett here. It was Emmett's way of striking and his mannerism of throwing such vicious right hands and those huge haymakers. If one of those shots had connected, Kattar was definitely going to get knocked out, and there were high chances of him getting slept. Emmett also worked on Kattar's body with his strikes. Meanwhile, Calvin maintained his mantra of finding success with his incredible jabs, but that wasn't enough for him to get the round. 10-9 to Josh Emmett in round number 2. Round number 3, and Emmett once again came out all guns blazing. He was showing off his massive strength and his incredible power at his hands. He was utilizing his power by connecting with those huge right hands, and to add further misery to Calvin Kattar's game plans, Emmett was even tuning it up with various combinations. Kattar's corner was presumably starting to get frustrated by this point, as he stuck to the jab and wasn't making enough changes to his style. Emmett, on the other hand, found his openings nicely with his combos and his big right hands. Another big round for Josh Emmett here, as Calvin Kattar was really starting to look off as the fight gradually progressed. Another 10-9 to Emmett after round number 3. The fourth, and in my opinion, the decisive round of this fight. Now, beginning of this round, Calvin Kattar knew that he had to do something in order to turn this fight around in his favor, and he only had 10 minutes to do so. Kattar started off the round engaging more into the action. He wasn't landing clean, but he was clearly doing a lot more than Emmett was in the opening 2 minutes. And those first 2 minutes, there was this brief moment when Emmett charged towards Kattar and had him backed him up against the cage for a while. From there onwards, I felt Emmett took a little control of the round. He was working on Kattar with his body shots and was still engaging with his deadly combos. And if you ask me, Calvin Kattar wasn't reacting enough to Emmett's combinations. But Kattar did have one big moment in that round when he landed a spinning elbow and shortly afterward followed up with a huge right hand that wobbled Emmett. But Josh Emmett is as tough as they come. He almost immediately got back up to his feet and engaged in the middle of the octagon with Kattar. Closing off the round, Kattar successfully landed a few jabs, but Josh Emmett went absolutely crazy with his closing fury. He once again moved forward and pressurized Kattar with his combos, so much so, he forced Kattar to constantly back himself up before the round came to an end. A very, very tough round to score this one, as round number 4 came to a close. Round number 5 saw Josh Emmett connect with his shots early on, and he was landing his shots very cleanly. However, as the fight gradually progressed in the final round, I felt Calvin Kattar adapted more to his style from the first round of the fight, as he was finding a lot more success with his jabs and even avoided Emmett's combinations. in the closing minute of the fight, Emmett showed a lot of urgency, and right at the final second, Kattar attempted a spinning elbow, which I'm not sure if it landed, but if it did, that obviously was another huge moment in round 5 for Kattar, which I think was obviously won by him. So, looking back on this fight, round number 4, as we all know by now, is the big talking point. This round is the big difference of this fight, and I personally am not sure how to score round number 4 and in whose favor I should be scoring it for. When I watched the fight initially, I did think Emmett had done enough in round number 4 to secure it, but after a lot of online discussion, I decided to rewatch the fight, and when you look back at round number 4 specifically, that spinning elbow and that big right hand from Calvin Kattar could turn out to be the big difference in that round. But should Josh Emmett's victory over Calvin Kattar be labeled as a robbery? Absolutely not. Because if you look into the fight as a whole, Emmett did a lot more in terms of his volume striking. His combinations helped him a lot, and one of the primary reasons why Emmett won that fight was because of the massive volume striking. Nevertheless though, eventually this fight could have gone either way, and it has to be a very bitter pill for Calvin Kattar to swallow, knowing that he was ranked number 4 heading into this fight and could have fought the winner of Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway for the featherweight title. But congratulations to Josh Emmett on the big win. As for Calvin Kattar, I don't think his stock in the featherweight division is going to take a dip with this loss, and there are definitely some big things in store for him going forward, only that he needs to reflect on this fight and make the slight visible adjustments that I'm sure most of us noticed throughout that fight. With that being said, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.